it to the House.
The Honourable Annette King.
Mr Speaker, it was interesting listening to Melissa Lee read out the research notes, and what I got from that is that she thinks that if you tell a lie often enough, people might believe it. And the lie that I thought that was being told was that for 9 years Labor did nothing in housing. Well, that member wasn't around, I believe, during that time, but I can tell her that we spent 9 years fixing up after the Great State House fire sale undertaken by the previous national government. Maybe she wasn't aware of that. Maybe nobody told her that under the previous national government they sold off 13,000 state houses and replaced very few of them. She then went on to say it's not about kicking people out of houses. That's not what it's about. Well, I suggest that she might like to read the regulatory impact statement, which said this, that as of the 31st of January 2013, there were 63,867 total tenancies, of which 54,520 were identified as being entered into prior to the 1st of July. That's an important date, 1st of July 2011. And about 80% of these are likely to qualify for a desktop review. Now, this desktop review is to see whether they should be kicked out. And the criteria for that is going to be very interesting indeed. You see, this bill is about three things. It's about income-related rent subsidy extended to all social housing providers. I have no problem with that. That's a very good idea. But why haven't they included in this local government? Because one of the biggest providers of social housing in New Zealand, if you counted local government as a social housing provider, I suspect it would be more than 5%. If they are counting local government in the 5%, then why aren't they eligible for the extension of the income rent subsidy? That's a very good question, and I'd like to put that to the Minister when I get an opportunity, because here in Wellington, it is the local authority, it is Wellington City Council that provides the largest number of social houses in this city. In fact, the biggest provider in New Zealand. Why would they not qualify for the income-related rent subsidy? Because they are providing very good accommodation after the previous Labor government put in over $200 million in partnership with them. 200 million, Melissa Lee, that we put into partnership with local authority to renovate those houses and those apartments to make them livable for many, many low-income Wellingtonians. That's the sort of thing the previous Labor government did. So I don't have a problem with income-related rent subsidy being provided to social housing providers. I do have a problem with the renewable tenancies to all state housing tenants. Because when you read the small print, yes, they are going to be concerned about people with disabilities and people who are unable to physically move, but where in this does it talk about the elderly? It is the older New Zealanders who have often lived in the same state house for many years, and it's their home. It isn't just a place where they lay their head, it is a place where they've often brought up their children. They've made it their home, they've put in the gardens, often they had to put in the paths, they put in the drapes, they put in the carpet, they made it their home. And these people are some of those that are going to be asked to move on when they've had their tenancies reviewed. The third area, Mr Speaker, is this bill is supposed to make Housing New Zealand more effective and more efficient. Well, poor old Housing New Zealand, under the previous Minister, Phil Heatley, underwent a big effective and efficiency change. So they were supposed to have already been made more effective and efficient, and well, some of us remember how that happened. They closed all the Housing New Zealand offices. That's how they became more efficient. So if you wanted to go and see somebody in a Housing New Zealand office, you rocked up to the door was shut. You couldn't even get an appointment to get into the office because you had to ring the toll-free number, the 0800 number, to get an appointment if you were going to get through the door if they would open it. But people sat for hours and hours trying to get on the 0800 number. It was the 0800 nowhere number. And so talk about more efficiency in Housing New Zealand. So there are three areas of this bill, and I have to say, Mr Speaker, we're not going to support it because although there are some good things in it, it is going to have a detrimental effect on many, many New Zealanders who need certainty and security in their housing. And one last thing, Mr Speaker, we already have a mixed model of housing. We have home ownership, we have state housing, and we have community housing and social housing. We could add to that, but you don't need to do it at the expense of state house tenants.
I call Materia Ture.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. The Green Party will maintain